We are live. Yo, yo, yo. What is good, everybody? It is the Godfather of VR and the ageless wonder, the man, Leaky Clay, coming back at you with a live stream. How is everybody doing this evening? It's 8:23 p.m. Eastern Time. I would have preferred to do this stream earlier, so our friends in the UK would have been able to catch this, but I had to wrestle with my PC for a while. I had my racing wheel calibrated, and then I lost it. And so I had to go back into the PC and screw around with some of the settings. Long story short, to get the PC calibrated again, because it was the racing wheel that I had to get calibrated. And so, because, I've got several racing games on my PC, Project Cars 2, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Dirt Rally, and let's see here, Race Room is downloading right now as we speak. And I decided, let's try some other racing games too, besides just Project Cars. And so I tried Assetto Corsa, which is okay. The game looks a little bit dated to me. Tried Dirt Rally. That Dirt Rally racing. The only dirt racing game that really appealed to me at any point was Dirt. The first time I played that, I thought that was a pretty good game, and I even thought Dirt 2 was a pretty good game. And then I tried a set of Corsa Competizione, and I wasn't really feeling it. And it's not so much. I think it's not so much because of the game. It's just more of the tracks in the class of racing. I think a set of Corsa Competizione focuses on GT3 class, which I think those are great cars. But the tracks that they race on, I think there's too much, go stop, at these super sharp corners, and I think some of these tracks is just too narrow. The one kind of race I do not like is when the road is too narrow, and it looks more like a parade rather than a race, where all the cars are one right behind the other, and you don't really get enough. You don't have enough room to try to pass the car in front of you. So you just try to stay on his ass and hopes he screws up and goes too wide on a turn. And when he goes off the track, then you can move up in position. I don't like that kind of shit. I like it when the tracks are two lanes, so cars have room to go side by side, and then we'll see who's got ice water running through their veins when they get to that sharp corner at the same time, and see who hits the brakes last. So I like seeing that kind of stuff, and so. So because of that, I like Project Cars. I like the tracks better on Project Cars. Those tracks, those are tracks where it looks like you can open the car up a little bit, and you can challenge somebody. You can slipstream them and then try to challenge them. So, getting to let's see here. Before I get into the news, I want to give a shout out to Porter Rock. He made a couple of tweets, and he will be joining the PC community. I think he's in Germany right now. He's in a military, so he's living in Germany currently, and I think he's supposed to be moving back to the States in April. And I think if I remember hearing him correctly on one of his streams, that once he gets back to the States, he's going to look into buying a PC. And from the tweets that he made on Twitter, it looks like he still has that, in his sights of getting a PC, so he can play PC exclusives and play, what VR has to offer over on PC. So when he gets that PC and he joins PC VR, we got to give him a big welcome, and show him some of that VR community love. I think once he gets a taste of that PC VR, he's going to be playing that a lot more than PlayStation VR. I think he's still going to play PlayStation VR, but I think he's going to like PC VR as well. No question about that. And I think once he gets a taste of that PC life, combined with with the PlayStation life, he probably will never buy an Xbox again. Ah. Okay, so I think now we can get into the news. I don't know when the update rolled out, but there was an update, an Oculus update, uh, relative to the Oculus Link. So this update allows basically your microphone will work. Um, I think it was I don't know, last week sometime. Yeah, sometime last week. I tried to stream The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, trying to test it out using the Quest link, because of the cable that I bought, and the microphone wasn't working, so I had to hook an external mic up to the PC in order to be heard. And I do, Oculus said it when the link, when the link went live. Well, the beta, because it's in beta right now. And they did say there was going to be some compatibility issues. It is not going to work with every single PC. It's not going to work with every GPU. May even have some problems with laptops, that kind of stuff. How's it going, Carol? So Oculus did warn us that it might be some problems there. And so when I tried to play The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners and the microphone wasn't working, I just assumed it was a compatibility issue. And it turns out I wasn't the only one with that problem, because some of the Oculus groups that I'm part of on Facebook, that was a constant complaint about the link cable, that the microphones wasn't working. So now they finally sent an update through, and the microphone is apparently working, because people have already tested it and said that it's working. So I think you need to run an update through both your Oculus software on your PC, as well as an update on your Oculus Quest. So eventually I'll get around to that. So that's good news. And let's see, what's the next bit of news? Sanzaru, I believe I don't know if it's Sanzaru or Sanzaru. That is the developer. They made several games for Oculus, but I think the two most well-known games that they developed for Oculus was VR Sports Challenge, which I absolutely love that game, and Asgard's Wrath, which was my VR Game of the Year for 2019. Now, in the case of VR Sports Challenge, that is the game that I refer to when I talk about how a game like Madden, if EA really wanted to do it, they could make Madden fully playable in VR. Or if somebody wanted to make any kind of football game that's fully playable in VR, and people would try to say that it can't be done, that VR isn't that far ahead yet, that kind of stuff. VR Sports Challenge is the game that you can check out that proves that a fully playable football game in VR is possible. So Hussein next, what's up, how you doing? And so and then, as I spoke about, Asgard's Wrath was my game of the year for 2019. Pretty good graphics, but I still think that Lone Echo still has the best graphics that I've seen in a VR game. But I think the graphics on Asgard's Wrath is pretty good. And one of the things that I loved, in Asgard's Wrath, without spoiling, you do play the part of several characters, and one of them in particular was a woman that once I acquired an axe as a weapon. I was able to throw that axe like Kratos in Gears of War, was able to throw the axe and then retrieve it. So I thought that was a pretty neat feature. And the game has 25 to 30 hours of gameplay. So I consider Asgard's Wrath, it doesn't have a AAA price tag, but it does, to me, it is a AAA VR game. 25 to 30 hours gameplay. Craig, the tech guy, how about the Mass Effect for Game of the Year? Let me see. Carl, you said, I wish Lone Echo would come to I'm assuming you meant to say PSVR with that. I'm assuming you meant to say PSVR. Unfortunately, if that's what you were trying to say, unfortunately, that's not going to happen because that is an Oculus exclusive. So anyway, naturally, Oculus picked up Sanzaru, the developers of these games that I spoke of. Facebook acquired this studio, and I figured that was a no-brainer because, yeah, I figured you meant PSVR, Carl. Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because that's an Oculus exclusive, and today's acquisition of Sanzaru, I think, proves that Oculus is still going to be committed to providing us with first-party titles. Because if you could make the case right now that Oculus you could make the case that they might be making the best VR exclusives right now. Because they had a couple of hits, with Stormland and Asgard's Wrath. I thought, even though people talked about the ending wasn't that good, I thought Defector was pretty good. What I played of it so far, I didn't get a chance to finish it, so I didn't get a chance to see this ending that people are talking about. But what I played of Defector so far is pretty good. Lone Echo's been out there. Robo Recall, Marvel Powers United. So, Oculus has got some exclusives. The Dead and Buried, both Dead and Buried 1 and 2. So Oculus has got a good number of exclusives. So Thomas Hand, you telling Craig to stay away from VR? He a jinx? How's he a jinx? So after Facebook acquired Beat Games, the developer of Beat Saber, they said they weren't done yet. They were still going to acquire some more studios. So naturally, anyone who hasn't been living under a VR rock knows that when Facebook said they were going to acquire some more studios, that Sanzaru had to be one of them. Because I think in this stable of studios that Facebook may acquire for Oculus, Sanzaru, they could be, they could be to Oculus what Naughty Dog or Insomniac or Sony Santa Monica is to Sony. I think they're going to be a valuable asset to Oculus. So I think that brings me to the next question is, if they're going to acquire some more studios, which they said they will, what is going to be the next domino to fall? And I'm wondering if that's going to be Ready at Dawn. As you guys know, Ready at Dawn developed Lone Echo, which is an Oculus exclusive, and to me, still to this very day, the best looking VR game that I've ever seen. And they also developed the Order 1886 for the Sony PlayStation. Now, people were clamoring for a 1886 sequel. First there was a rumor it was going to happen, then it wasn't. Then it wasn't going to happen. Sony dropped him, whatever you want to call it. And we do know that they developed Lone Echo 2. Or rather, that's what they're working on right now. It's supposed to release sometime this year. I really don't know when it's supposed to release. But I think that's another studio that Oculus might want to think about acquiring, because the work they did on Lone Echo, in my opinion, was great. Great graphics, a great story. I think great acting. So I think they should, I think Oculus should take a look at acquiring them. And I think that's part of the reason why Sony bought Insomniac, because one, they needed them. I think they wanted them make sure they were committed 100% to Spider-Man 2, because if they didn't lock Insomniac down, I think Somniac would have been spread thin between trying to work on Spider-Man 2, trying to work on a VR project for Sony, if that be the case, as well as probably working on a VR project for Oculus, because they did do Stormland. So some people were a little bit disappointed by Sony acquiring Insomniac, because that means we're probably not going to see another Stormland now that Sony owns Insomniac. So I almost feel like Oculus is kind of in the same boat, that they better go ahead and pick up Ready at Dawn before somebody else grabs them. So excuse me. Whew, I needed that. So I think that's all I got there. And then I think there's some other things that I want to talk about. And another thing I want to talk about, Thomas Hand Craig was doing a bit of fishing last night with Sick. I came back and listened to the Roundtable podcast today. I didn't make it yesterday because I was just like totally exhausted, so I sat it out. But I listened to the replay this morning, and that was a damn good podcast. It was absolutely hilarious. Thrash, he was being an absolute clown. It was pretty funny. So, excuse me. But this Cyberpunk thing, that's as some of you know, I guess anyone who buys Cyberpunk 77, which is supposed to release April 16th, anyone who buys that game on the Xbox One will get the game for free if they upgrade to an Xbox Series X. Which the first thing that hit my head was like, why would you do something like that? Because you'd be losing out on money. I can only assume that Microsoft paid them to do it. And if Microsoft did pay them to do it, I think that's actually a brilliant move on Microsoft's part, because that alone, who knows, that might have sold 100,000 units right out the gate. So I wanted to make sure. So I went to go read the you said same Thomas Hand. So I wanted to read the article on this to make sure I had it right. But all it really did was show a tweet. And the tweet, in my opinion, was very telling. And this is coming from Cyberpunk themselves. It says gamers should never be forced to purchase the same game twice or pay for upgrades. Owners of Cyberpunk 77 for Xbox One will receive the Xbox Series X upgrade for free when available. If they really feel that strongly about gamers not having to pay for upgrades or pay for a game twice, why did they not mention this, that the same would apply for the PlayStation brand? You would think that if they felt that way about it, they would feel that way about it across the board, and they would offer that same upgrade, that same free upgrade for the PlayStation. But there's no mention of the upgrade. So if you want me to put on my little, something fishy's going on, if you want me to put that hat on, I might go as far as to say that Microsoft might have threw them a few $1 million for the upgrade. For the free upgrade, to entice people to buy the Xbox Series X, and probably paid them to say that. Which, if that be the case, I don't think it was necessary for Microsoft to pay them to say it. I'm like, that's one situation where if Microsoft paid them, I think Microsoft could have been straight up with it. Hey, we want Xbox to be the best place to play, so we formed it. So we collaborated with CD Projekt Red, so if anyone buys the Xbox Series X, they'll get a free upgrade to the game, blah blah blah. So if Microsoft is behind this in any way, shape, or form, I don't think they needed to hide it, which I do think they were behind this, and I don't think that's a bad thing. PUG, what's going on? Because I guess if Microsoft were to continue to do things like that, that's assuming that they are behind this. If they continue to do these kind of things, that that could shake things up a little. So I expect the PS5 to outsell the Series X, regardless. But how big of a gap it is, in my opinion, all depends on whether Microsoft can entice people to want to buy the console, because it sure as hell is not going to entice people to buy the console with a Game Pass. So let's check some other things. Now, one thing has got me curious. So I was listening to Craig Harris's podcast this morning, and people, I guess in his chat section, someone posted something about there was a listing on Amazon for a PC copy of Horizon Zero Dawn, and then I guess it was taken down. So, and when I got home from work, I found that same article, in my, I think I got this one thing called Fast News that I guess is supposed to just like quick deliver you the news, and it had that article from PC Gamer talking about Horizon Zero Dawn being available on PC, and that was 7 hours ago. When I read the article, there was no thing that says update, advertisement has been taken down. They haven't said anything like that. So I'm wondering, it's got me wondering, is it false? Being that the post got taken down, is it false? Was it false? Did somebody put out misinformation? Or did somebody get a call from Sony and they were told to take it down? Because I think Amazon friends, I'm wondering, Thomas Hand again, was it false information? Was it irresponsibility on Amazon France's part? Or did they get a call from Sony and was told to take that shit down, even if it might be true? Because one thing is for certain, I think this is a very critical time for Sony right now, because they got to try to sell the PlayStation 5. And the last thing they need is everybody getting the impression that, these games are going to be going to PC. Because that will, to me, that will stifle sales of the PlayStation 5. The same way that I was trying to explain to everybody about crossplay, that if Sony were to give in all the way 100 into crossplay, then that's going to stifle sales of the PlayStation console, because you would put them in a position where they would feel like they wouldn't need to buy the console, that whatever they already had is good enough. So but as Craig always says, and so many, to paraphrase him, I guess I'll worry about that if and when we get word from Sony about it. Nice. Okay, so let me check out a couple other notes. God, I'm already half an hour into it. Let me see here. Zero Caliber is right around the corner. I don't know if I need to go and read that. Now, this article might be a little bit worth talking about. Microsoft says it hasn't given up on the VR side of Windows mixed reality. Put on some more powerful glasses here. Hold on, folks. While Microsoft has been full steam ahead on the augmented reality side of Windows mixed reality via HoloLens, the company has had very little to say in the last year about the VR side of its platform. While it may look like Microsoft has largely given up on the effort, the company tells us that it remains committed. Huh. Let me see, Thomas Hand. You said the word is Craig got moist in the Xbox community and phoned a dude in Amazon France. He'd be fishing a lot right now. All right. In late 2017, Microsoft launched its Windows Mixed Reality platform, a software foundation built into Windows 10, which supports VR headset. The company also convinced a handful of its major PC partners, Dell, Lenovo, Acer, HP, Samsung, Asus, to launch VR headsets attached to the platform. For the most part, all of those headsets offered up identical specs, with the only difference being in outward design. Samsung went a bit further with different displays and lenses, leaving little to differentiate them. Though the Windows VR headsets were the first out the gate with inside-out tracking, they struggled to compete with incumbent on consumer value, especially in the content department, with many users skipping the Microsoft Store in favor of the much richer content library of Steam VR. This is a pretty long article. The only reason why I felt this, the only reason why I even wanted to halfway talk about this, is Microsoft is half-ass walking back some of the stuff they said about VR support. You know, they went from saying nobody's asking for it to, you know, the door's still open, to, you know, to say it in, you know, different, put it in different words. So, what's up, Robert? If Microsoft go hollow, might actually get a Series X. There's nothing. I think the best chance. Now I have an Xbox One S. The only reason why I bought the S when I did is because my Xbox One was like on the verge of taking a dump. And so the only reason why I got another Xbox was so I can play Gears with my son, because he still loves that game. But if it wasn't for that, no, I wouldn't have got another Xbox. But in any case, when the Xbox One X was announced and they were talking about high fidelity VR, I was actually considering getting an Xbox One X because I didn't have a PC yet. And because of the so-called power of the Xbox One X, I figured that whatever VR experience they would give us would be better than the PlayStation VR. I figure at the very least they would give you a headset with a clearer picture. And it never materialized. So because of that, there was no reason for me to buy an Xbox One X. Same thing with the Xbox Series X. There's no reason whatsoever for me to buy that. The only way Microsoft could even halfway get my attention towards buying an Xbox Series X is if they came up with their own VR exclusives. They are not going to do that because, in my opinion, I feel like Microsoft is a company of opportunists. They wait to see what's hot, and then they jump in on it while it's still hot. You know, I've given several examples in the past of how some things have gotten popular and then Microsoft would come in and jump in on it. You know, the games with gold, they, you know, modeled that after Sony's PlayStation Plus. The avatars, they modeled that after the Nintendo Mii's. You know, so I still believe that when VR gets so popular that Microsoft has to jump in it, I think the easiest route to go would be to call Oculus and have Oculus basically come over there and set up camp, because Oculus could bring their exclusive games over there and it would actually help out Xbox and Oculus, because if Oculus were to bring their exclusives over there, if you wanted to play Asgard's Wrath on console, the Xbox would be the only way to go. So like if Oculus were to set up camp on the Xbox platform, any of the Oculus exclusives, there would only be two ways for you to be able to play them, and that would be on PC or on Xbox. Reading a couple of text messages. Oh my God, Xbox One did take a dump. Is why I got an S. Those Xboxes. I think it was the Xbox Scorpio edition that was having a problem because my son's Xbox One X never had a problem, but he has this. He has the regular Xbox One X and not the Scorpio edition. I was going to get him the Scorpio edition, but they were sold out, so I just said I'll get him the regular one. Since, in my opinion, the only thing that separates a regular Xbox One X from the Scorpio edition is the sticker that's on there. So, but no, he's never had a problem with his Xbox One X. So getting back to this, this VR thing, I think though, since Microsoft, in my opinion, when Microsoft gets on board with VR, they are. I do not think they're going to develop I don't think they're going to manufacture their own headset. And I do not think they're going to make their own games. So again, the most logical solution, in my opinion, was for them to call Oculus and say, "Hurry up and get over here and set up camp." I think one of the other routes that they could take is, as I read in that article, that they licensed out to the design of their mixed reality headset to several people. Dell, Lenovo, Samsung, and a couple of others. That's one of the other routes that they could take is they could design a VR headset and have Lenovo or somebody manufacture it for them because the Oculus Rift S, if you look on the side of it, it says Lenovo on the side of it. So that's a route that they could go. They could bring the Windows Mixed Reality store and put that on the Xbox store. And a lot of these third-party developers that are already out there on PC and on PSVR, they could also bring their games over to the Microsoft store and do it that way. But if they went that route, what would Microsoft do about VR? I guess one of the other things they could probably do is, have a marketing deal or pay a third-party developer a few more bucks for exclusive content, to be on the Xbox. So, but I think sooner or later, as VR continues to grow, I think even though 2020 is going to be a big year for VR, I think even though we're going to see, people, including myself, feel that 2020 is going to be the year of physics for VR games, I still think it's going to be I still think it's going to grow. Cold Yogurt, what is up? Jeez, I think next year could be an even bigger year than this year. So, excuse me. So, I think sooner or later Microsoft's going to have to get on board with VR. It's too much, in my opinion. It's getting to be to the point where you can't ignore the money that's being generated in VR. And I think I think I also posted an article today. Let me see if it's there. That over 100 VR games has done $1 million in sales. Yeah, here we go. Read a little bit of that real quick. More than 100 VR games have exceeded $1 million in revenue. While VR is still young, it crossed an important milestone at the start of 2020. More than 100 VR games have exceeded $1 million in revenue. In analysis published early this month, VR fund investor Tipatat Shenavinson made the case that 2019 was a significant inflection point for the VR industry based on data gathered from the major VR storefronts, Steam, PlayStation Network, Oculus PC, and Oculus Rift, and insights from developers. Um, Shanavason estimates that a total of 106 VR games have exceeded $1 million in revenue, and nearly half of that has come in the last 12 months alone. So yes, that's right there is definitely speaking to the growth of VR. What's more, among those 106 titles, some have rocketed past the 1 million milestone. Shanavason reports that the top 7 titles have exceeded 10 million in revenue, with the leading title pulling in a whopping 60 million. Wow, that's big right there. And I'm willing to bet you that's Beat Saber that pulled in 60 million. He says by this time next year, he expects the first VR game could reach the 100 million milestone. And I would probably say it's either Beat Saber or Half-Life Alyx. One of those two games is going to have the chance to break 100 million in revenue. And I think it's probably going to be Beat Saber. Beat Saber continues to grow. You know, for the hardcore people like me and some of you that watch this, we already know about Beat Saber. We know it's a great game. It's not a game that we don't talk about that much, but casual people that are just now getting on board with VR, it's like they discovered a whole new world, because on these groups that I'm talking about, every single day, you know, there's some kind of post about Beat Saber, whether somebody's streaming a song that they tried on Expert Plus, whether they're using Beat Saber for fitness purposes, to lose weight, what have you. It's just like Beat Saber post after Beat Saber post. And you know, like when it comes to music, you know how when what's a good song? Maybe MC Hammer's Can't Touch This. When he first came out with that song, only hardcore MC Hammer fans knew about it. But then, by the time the song hit mainstream, his hardcore fans had already heard it 8 million times. And I think that's where we're at with Beat Saber. I think the casuals are catching on to Beat Saber now. And they're talking about it like nothing that they've ever seen. And we're like, yeah. So Beat Saber is going to continue to grow. So when they talk about a VR game by this time next year having a chance to break 100 million, it's probably going to be Beat Saber. I'd like to say that it's going to be Half-Life Alyx because of the anticipation for that game, but I really think it's going to end up being Beat Saber. It's going to be the one that breaks 100 million. Hussein X, 60 million. Wow, I heard Beat Saber did 6 million. Can't remember where I read it. But I'm telling you, like Hussein, if you have a Facebook account, go to Facebook and join some of those Oculus groups. You know, especially the Oculus Quest groups. Excuse me. I'm in several groups on those Facebook, on Facebook. And as far as VR groups goes, I'm in one called Oculus Quest Community, Oculus Virtual Reality, PlayStation VR, PSVR Life, Steam VR. But the top 3 that like gets the most posts are the Oculus posts, and the 2 Oculus Quest groups in particular. Those 2 groups combined have about have like 35,000 members. And it's just nothing but Beat Saber post after Beat Saber post, and it's like, and I talked about the growth of Beat Saber, and Beat Saber, in my opinion, is a huge hit, but I don't think I've ever seen a VR game appeal to so many women. Because they're finding out with Beat Saber, they're finding out what I have been saying all along. Beat Saber allows you to burn a ton of calories to lose weight and get in a little bit of shape without being in a gym all day. Because, despite me not working out, I haven't been working out the way I used to. But I still do my cardio here at home, and I still, crank a couple of weights every now and then. But playing Beat Saber, I can get done in 20 minutes on Beat Saber what it would take me 2 hours to do in a gym. As far as a treadmill goes, treadmills are boring. You can try to listen to music or watch TV or something like that to try to pass the time. But it's like whenever I would go to the gym and get on treadmills, after about 15 minutes of being on that treadmill, I'd be ready to go. I'm like, either I'm ready to leave or I'm ready to get out there and start lifting some heavy weights, because treadmills are absolutely boring. I love, I love working out, and but the treadmill is not a part that I enjoy doing at the gym. Beat Saber gives me all the, like I said, I can get done in 20 minutes what it would take me 2 hours to do on a treadmill. And I think women are starting to find that out in these Oculus groups. And I'm hearing some amazing stories about people losing weight and that kind of thing. And the popularity of Beat Saber continues to grow. So because of that, you could make a case that like Beat Saber is the Candy Crush of VR, and because of that, I think Beat Saber is probably going to have a chance to break the 100 million mark. And then Hussein X, where you point out about you thought Beat Saber did 6 million, because Beat Saber is the most successful VR game out there. So when they say a game did 60 million, it has to be Beat Saber. Keep in mind that the game costs $30, which when I first bought the game, I thought $30 was a little bit steep. I felt like the game should have cost $20. But they did give us some free songs. And then over on the PC side, when you use Beat Saber to add custom tracks and stuff like that, it became well worth the $30. So, and then don't forget some of the music packs that they added with Beat Saber. The Imagine Dragons wasn't a bad music pack, and there's a few other music packs. So when you combine all that, I guess that's shocking but very impressive. Assuming Beat Saber, it doesn't matter which VR game it is. The fact that it did 60 million is absolutely astonishing. Cold Yogurt. Only 5% of Sony player base has PSVR. It won't work for Xbox. Xbox are hooked onto subscription services. I don't think it was a case of people wanting services. I think it's just like a lot of people have been saying that Microsoft had to do something because nobody was buying their games, so they had to try something. So here comes the services. They had to do something. But I do think Game Pass and xCloud is Microsoft's last hurrah. I think if these fail, then the Xbox division is gone. But I don't know, But people talk, and Cold Yogurt, when people talk about the 5% of PlayStation adopters having a VR headset, I'll come back to that 5% thing here in a second, Cold Yogurt. Could be Half-Life Alex. Hussein X, you said could be Half-Life Alex. Did that 60 million. On a side note, I pre-ordered Half-Life Alex, but don't but don't nor have ever played Beat Saber. Hey, Beat Saber is a great game, Hussein X. Um, but I would say I would recommend that if you were going to ever buy Beat Saber, to buy it on PC so you can add the mods, the custom tracks, because you can change the different kind of sabers that you use, swords and that kind of stuff, and add custom tracks. But yeah, but as far as the game doing 60 million, they saying by this time next year that a game could do 60 million, 100 million. You know what? Now here's the thing. I figure yes, it's either going to be Half-Life Alyx or Beat Saber. One of those two games is going to be the game that breaks the 100 million mark. Now, Half-Life Alyx costs $55. It's 10% off. Please excuse me, everybody. Holy shit, because I haven't had a nap yet. So we'll just say Half-Life Alyx, is $55 on Steam. If they can sell 1 million copies, that's 55 million. If they can sell 2 million copies of Half-Life Alyx, that's 110 million. So when you look at it that way, it's very well possible that Half-Life Alyx could be the game that could break 100 million. But here's the thing about it, though. I don't know how many headsets are out there, because the Oculus Rift and the Oculus Rift S, I don't know how many of those headsets are out there. I think that last update that we had on headset sales for the fourth quarter of 2019, the PlayStation VR led with 338,000 units sold. The Oculus Quest came in second with 317,000 units sold. I think now the Valve Index was the leader of PC VR headsets with 150,000 units sold. And I think the Oculus Rift S was at the bottom with 71,000 headsets sold. Where I'm trying to go with this is between the discontinued Oculus Rift CV1, the Oculus Rift S, the Valve Index, the HTC Vive headsets, the Vive Pro, the Vive Cosmos, the Cosmos, HTC Cosmos and stuff like that. Those three headsets, are there even 2 million headsets out there total? Because in the beginning of the life cycle of the PlayStation VR, 10 months into the life cycle, when they gave us some official numbers, PSVR had 750,000 units sold, and it was more than the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive combined. Nobody had broke the million mark yet. Now fast forward, we know PSVR has sold 5 million headsets. What about the rest of them? I don't know what the rest of them did. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't even know if there's, between the Vive Pro, Cosmos, discontinued Rift S, discontinued Rift CV1, Rift S, hell, even the mixed reality headsets with HP Reverb and the Samsung Odysseys, all those headsets combined, is there even 2 million people out there that have a headset? The reason why I left out the Quest is because, as far as Half-Life Alyx goes, the only Quest owners that this applies to is the ones with the link cable. Now, I think rumor had it that the Oculus Quest was sitting on like 780,000 headsets sold or 790,000 headsets sold. But how many of those have the link cable? So when you put it in that aspect, Hussein X, where I'm trying to go with is that I very well do believe that Half-Life Alyx could break 100 million. The question is there enough headsets out there for it to break 100 million. So I made a short story long by saying that, but that's what I was trying to say. Hussein, you said I think last year when Nvidia said 4 million PC VR HMDs were sold, should be more now. Okay, yeah, then hell, maybe both of them breaks 100 million. Maybe both Beat Saber and Half-Life Alyx, maybe they both break 100 million. Now, here I come 9 years later, cold yogurt on about the 5% of the PSVR headset sold that I was about to elaborate on. You have to keep in mind, the one thing I do not like is when these Xbots always try to say that only 5% of Sony adopters have a PSVR headset. They act like because Sony sold over 100 million consoles, they act like everything Sony sells, that if it didn't sell 100 million units as well, it was a failure. Because Sony didn't sell 100 million PSVR units, it was a failure. Because Sony didn't sell 100 million copies of God of War, it was a failure. Because Sony didn't sell 100 million copies of Spider-Man, it was a failure. I kind of get sick of hearing those Xbox saying that kind of shit. Look over on the Xbox side. They got 40 million units sold over here. Over there, and Xbox won't even give you numbers of what's been sold over there. They won't tell you how many copies of Gears of War been sold. They won't tell you how many copies of Crackdown, how many copies of Forza has been sold. So they gotta be a lot less than than the 10, 15, or 20 million copies that PlayStation exclusives have done. And then there's other things to consider. It took the PS4 launched in November of 2013. So we going into 7 years that this console has been out. But the PlayStation VR is going on 4 years that it's been out. So the console has had a 3-year jump on the PlayStation VR headset. So that's unreasonable to expect that the headset is going to sell 100 million units. Other things to consider that I've talked about is that $500 price tag that I feel like that the PlayStation VR is a peripheral and it should never cost more than the console. The PSVR costs $500 and the PS4 Pro costs $400. That was ass backwards in my opinion. I thought the PlayStation VR should have been $300, especially if you were trying to get it, if you were trying to achieve mass adoption. The price point of the headset was an issue. I think marketing was an issue because I think they have done minimal marketing of this headset. I've talked about it before when I watch YouTube videos. Damn near every commercial that I see on YouTube is an Oculus commercial. If you watch VR videos on YouTube, then you know what I'm talking about a ton of Oculus commercials out there. They are advertising the shit out of the Quest. If Sony gave half that effort, they would be at more than 6 million headsets sold. And the other thing is the headset launching almost 3 years after the console. If that console would have launched in 2013, so let me change these variables. If the console launched in 2013 along with the console, and it launches at a price tag of $300 instead of $500, we're staring at 10 million headsets sold by now instead of 5 million. So the PlayStation VR, in my opinion, and not to mention that the media didn't help, because the media was throwing dirt on the PlayStation VR, talking about how, it's not going to go over well, it's not going to succeed, it's going to flop, people are going to get motion sickness, blah, 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 all this kind of shit. But they never was saying that kind of stuff. From what I could see, I was not reading articles talking about how the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive might flop, because those at the time cost $600 and $700. They cost more than the PlayStation VR. So So, in my opinion, for the slow start that PlayStation VR got, the fact that it launched 3 years after the console, the fact that it cost $500, being that they sold over 5 million headsets, I think is impressive. So, where are we at? It's a little over 9 o'clock. Damn it, I've been on an hour already. Let me back up on some of these comments. Robert McLeod, only Microsoft wanted streaming and services, and they do what they want, not give us what we want. Yeah. And the Xbox community responds to it by talking about how much money Microsoft makes as a corporation instead of how much the Xbox division makes, or what kind of what great games that I guess Microsoft might have over there. Carl, you said 5% of 100 million is 5 million. That's great. That's absolutely amazing. 1 second, folks. The old Schnozola is starting to leak again. Hold on. Okay. I think at the conclusion of this podcast, I might go play some more Project Cars 2. That is, unless JD Max goes on, because I do enjoy watching his streams. While I'm on the subject of JD Max, I do want to encourage everybody to go check out his Twitch channel. It is JD Max, 1210 JD Max 1210. Go check out his channel. Follow him. That's a way of saying subscribe, because like when you use the word subscribe with Twitch, I think that's like a real subscription. Like you're paying him monthly. I mean, if you sub to him, then that's great. But at least go follow him, because excuse me, when it comes to these sim racers, because he races, he does a lot of iRacing streams. When it comes to Twitch, iRacing is obviously the king of the hill when it comes to these sim racing games that's on Twitch, because I've seen people streaming iRacing and would easily have 400 or 500 people watching the stream. But then I go check out GT Sport, Assetto Corsa, Project Cars 2, all those games, and they only have like 5 people viewing streams and stuff. So iRacing is definitely the king of the hill. But the reason, and another reason why I'm pointing you in the direction of JD Max, is because he is the only person that I know about that does iRacing streams in VR, because he races in VR. So definitely go check him out. So I definitely enjoy checking out his streams. That's how, whenever he streams, that's kind of how I close my night out. He usually goes on at about 10 or 11 o'clock my time. I don't know where JD Max lives at, but when he goes live, that's usually how I close my night out. By then I'm getting ready for bed, so I just stretch out and watch his streams. So let me see if I got anything else to talk about before I get out of here. Carl, yes, Xbox does suck. Let's see here. Robert McLeod, bots talk a lot of crap, and I never listen to them anyway because they have no clue what they're talking about anyways. Yeah, it's just this console war is just never ending. But you know what? People, in my opinion, people are saying what I had already said last year. Last year, I was saying that the Xbox want this generation to hurry up and be over with, and they want the next generation to start so the score can be 0-0. they've already conceded. You know, even though they fought to the bitter end, they finally conceded that they got their ass kicked this generation. Now they want this generation to hurry up and be over with so the score can be 0-0 so we can start a whole new game. So I knew that the shit that we seeing right now with the back and forth with the Xbox and the ponies and shit like that, I knew we were going to see this shit. But I didn't think it was going to happen. You know, I didn't think it was going to be this magnitude of shit that we were going to see, and the consoles haven't even come out yet. We haven't gotten official and exact release date yet. We haven't got pre-orders yet. We don't know what the PS5 looks like, and we already got this back and forth shit, and it's like it's about as bad as it ever was. You know, but like I said, you know, in even though you could tell Microsoft has made it clear they're not going to give you any exclusives for the next couple of years. You know, and Game Pass is still the focal point of the Xbox division. So I'm still led to believe that I don't think Microsoft, you know, outside of the normal Halo, Gears, and Forza, I don't think they're going to give you much exclusives. But yet, you know, they're still screaming like, you know, Xbox is going to win this generation. And this shit is just nauseating. You know, it's like I'm so glad I moved away from that shit. You know, I'm so glad that I got into VR and don't get caught up in that shit. You know, like all that back and forth shit they do, I just sit here like this and just let me see here. Cold yogurt, you say Robert McLeod, I say check me out, but I'm not in the racers. Well, I mean, let them know. Tell them in the chat what you do. Let them know to check you out. Cold yogurt, you said they are angry folks. And Robert McLeod, I hate the fake console wars. This is pointless. You know, and you said Xbox has been losing for 3 generations. What is their excuse for that? All that, you know, all that is like, you know, it's over. It's a new game, you know. PlayStation had been kicking their ass for years, and they were still trying to get any little V. You know, it's like a boxing match where they got their ass kicked for 12 rounds, and then the loser goes back and says, remember when I caught you in the 4th round? Remember that overhand right that I caught you with? Yeah, and I walked right through it and kept kicking your ass. What is your point? You know, that's the Xbox right there. You know, right up until the last bell, they were still trying to find some kind of victory. Well, the fight is over, but you didn't knock me out. You didn't knock me down. You know, that kind of shit. They finding victories in that kind of shit. And now that the next generation is here, we're on the next generation, and the score is 0-0. You know, they're back and more toxic as ever. So it's like, I'm just so glad I ain't dealing with that shit. You know, Carl, you said Next Gen 720 is trying to start a console versus PC war. Yeah, he just like to stir the pot. You know, it's like I've gotten used to him. I don't really watch his podcast like that anymore because I know I think he's kind of on some WWE shit. You know, he's funny. He's entertaining when I do watch him. But I only watch him when I want a good laugh. I don't really watch him for information because he loves fucking with people. So, but hey, I even trolled him a couple of times on Twitter. I told him I was still waiting to knock his ass out on Fight Night, and he retweeted it. My exact words was, I told him that I was still waiting to separate him from his Pumas. So he gave me a like and he retweeted it. It was that was a good laugh. So one of these days I am going to try to catch up with him and try to beat his ass in Fight Night. I don't know if he can fight or not, but I do know that Lunkin, one of the viewers of this channel, Lunkin, he can fight. He beat my ass, and he made it look easy. We hooked up on the Xbox and fought, and he beat my ass. So I can't go barking up his tree again. If I see him again, it'll be too soon. Now, if he wants to see me on Creed, that's a different story right there. Damn, I need another drink. I'm getting thirsty again. Hey, why don't one of y'all run to that refrigerator and grab me something to drink? Because I'm thirsty, the motherfucker. Let me grab something, y'all. I'll be right back. Okay, much needed. Yeah, Robert McLeod, you said Z, I do watch because he is entertaining. He is entertaining. He is funny. It's just like I said, sometimes he be on some of that WWE shit. So I go to him when I want some entertainment. Let me see here. Is there anything else worth talking about before I boogie on out of here? Because like I said, I'm feeling like doing some more racing. I think by now my race room should be done. Oh, I know what else I could talk about before I get out of here. Just a minute, folks. Let me make sure this we still good. You said he bleeds green. Yeah, he does. I'm feeling like doing some more racing. All right, sorry about that, folks. So yeah, I've been faced with I've got to make some hard decisions coming up here. I think I'm going to be skipping some games this year. I think I'm going to be skipping Robert McLeod, like saying, like, bitch, get me a beer, then come home from work, and then your clothes are on the front yard. So smart, man. Foes that. Get your own beer. Yeah, I got some decisions that I got to make. I think I'm gonna be skipping a few games this year. I'm probably gonna be skipping The Last of Us 2. Might be skipping The Ghost of Tsushima. Might be skipping Iron Man. And there's even a possibility that I may not buy Half-Life Alyx Day 1. I'm going to get Half-Life Alyx for my son Day 1 because, you know, my son smiles every time we talk about that game. And the reason being is because I've got a couple of things coming up that going to require me to spend a lot of money. One of the things that I've got coming up is having to renew the plates on both of my cars. I think to renew the plates on both of my cars is going to cost me roughly $500 because these cars here in Michigan, they used to charge you your plates to renew your plates. It used to go by what the car weighed, but now it goes by what the car costs brand new. And, you know, both of my cars are old. I got a 2008 Lexus LS460 and a 2006 Acura RL. These are old cars, but they were still expensive. The Acura was $55,000 brand new, and the Lexus it started at $63,000, and depending on how many bells and whistles it had, it was anywhere between 63 and 73. That's just for the model that I got. The LS460L, like long version, that one was $104,000. So anyway, So my two cars combined, could have easily totaled up to $120,000 brand new. Do I look like I got that kind of fucking money? When my apartment is so damn small, you guys see me walk into the kitchen. So yeah, it's probably like my brother. He's got a like a BMW like 745, which I think was like a $80,000 car, brand new or something like that. And I think to renew the plates on that car was like $300. So I'm looking for something close to that. No, I live in an apartment here, Carl, and I don't have a garage, but I do rent a carport. I keep my Lexus in that carport. And I'm not trying to rent two carports because they just doubled the shit. It used to be $15 a month, but now they done doubled the shit to $30 a month. So I'm not trying to spend $60 a month to keep two cars in a carport. Robert McLeod, you said if you charge me $500 for plates, I will just take the bus. It's cheaper. I cannot do that. Now, granted, the only reason it's costing that much is because of how much these cars cost brand new. So that's one of the things that I'm staring at. The other thing that I'm staring at is the PlayStation 5. I'm under the belief that the PlayStation 5 is probably going to cost $500. Now, that's another thing that's bugging me about this. You said, do I use a Stereo? I don't get what you mean by that, Carl. Unless that's a misspelling or something. If you want to clarify that. Or you said, or you will walk. Do I use a steering wheel and V-porn? Come on, man. I don't even know what the hell V-porn is. So, and I still catch shit to this very day because I checked out VR Paradise for a whole 6 minutes. And, in Gamertag, he get the blame for that, for forcing me out in the street like that. He brought that subject up knowing that I had already, checked it out because he saw it on the Steam friends list. I checked it out for a whole 6 minutes. I've got friends on my Steam's friends list who have checked the shit out for like 45 minutes. I won't mention their names though. So, getting back to this situation with the money situation. Doctors does not want me to walk anywhere. All right. So the other situation I'm dealing with, like I said, is the PS5. The media. That's what I was before I got sidetracked. The media. It bugs me how the media is trying to say that if Sony prices the PS5 at $500, that's a disaster. This is going to happen to them. That's going to happen to them. But nobody's saying what kind of consequences that Microsoft could face if they price the Xbox Series X at $500. All they're talking about is how Sony could screw this up. It's like, so what? Whatever. It's like, shut up. But anyway, I'm under the belief that the PS5 is going to cost $500. So between the $500 that it's going to cost for me to renew my plates, $500 for the PS5, we're looking at $1,000. You said No Man's Sky is a game you can shit. I mean, like Cold Yogurt, I got a huge backlog of VR games. Because I bought so many games and played them for half an hour or something like that, and then just never came back to them. Now, MLB The Show and Days Gone are two games that I absolutely wasted money on. I bought MLB The Show day one, and I only played like maybe 3 online games. Atomic Wasteland, you said as long as Sony gets the VR headset right, they can't lose. Yeah. So, and then the other game that I wasted money on, as I was saying, was Days Gone. I gave it an honest try to play that game. I played it. I probably put about 2 hours into that game and then just stopped. I made my way back over to VR. That's where I'm going with this. Like, the story for The Last of Us 2 looks very intriguing. So does Ghost of Tsushima. But I am concerned about spending $120 for both of those games and not finishing them because I'll end up coming back to VR. So I don't think I'm going to get those games day one. Honestly, what I think I'm going to end up doing is just having to save a ton of money and just rent those games, because we do have a video rental place around the corner from where I live, and you can rent a video game for like 5 days, I think for like $7 for 5 days. So I think that, you know, if I play it every day, I think 5 days would be enough for me to finish The Last of Us. So that might end up being the route that I might go. So let's talk about this. If I were to get MLB The Show, The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, standard editions of those games, we're talking $180 just for the 3 of those games. Then you throw in another $40 for Iron Man. We're up to $220. So that's half of the money right there to renew my plates. And my birthday is coming up in May. So I'm going to have to address this situation with renewing my plates in a couple of months. So if I pass on those games, that's going to save me some money. And then the thing about those games is they're single player. So then, you know, the price of those games are only going to go down, not up. You know, if it really came down to it, I could, you know, Half-Life Alyx, I could wait it out on that game and catch it on G2A. The same way I caught The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I thought $40. I ain't going to say that I thought $40 was a little steep. I just simply did not want to pay it. And I ended up catching the game on G2A for $20. So that's another route that I could go with Half-Life Alyx. Even though some people might think it would be not exactly cool, but Robert, I tried to play Just Cause 4 and I didn't even play it for 1 hour. I almost bought that game because I know, like, I think I had bought Just Cause 3 for my son, and he didn't even touch it. He played it for about 5 minutes, and that was, you know, hour, whatever you want to call it, and that was it. Atomic Wasteland. Hopefully the Chinese will get their act together and get control on the coronavirus that should keep the PS5 at the 450 mark. Sony doesn't usually do that $50 thing, though. It's usually $100. You know, $400, $500. I don't think they normally do something like a $450 or a $550, that kind of thing. Especially when it's coming out that the bill of material for the PS5 is supposed to be $450 to manufacture that. Now, if I remember correctly, now we remember that the PS3 launched at $600. And I remember reading an article that in an investors meeting that Sony warned investors that it was going to take a while for them to see a profit on the PS3. So I think with the PS4, the same thing here could very well happen. It's possible that they could go to the investors and tell them the same thing. That we're going to price this console at $400, and because of it, it could take a while before you guys see a profit. Robert McLeod, you said I played chess on PS4 more than just Cause 4. Good lord. I think there's I had bought a VR chess on the PlayStation VR, but I never really played it. Which I might look for a chess game in VR on PC. I told that story before. When my father was young, when he was younger, I'd probably say when I was in like my father's been playing, he had played chess for God knows how long, and he was pretty good. It was only a handful of people that could beat him. And one thing about when I grew up is a lot of dudes that I knew, they would go to jail and they would get locked up for a couple of years, and then when they come out of jail, they would talk about how they spent a lot of time playing chess while they were in jail. So they would think that they were pretty good, and they knew how good my father was. So we had a lot of dudes that was thinking they could beat my father. Was like every day that I would come over to my parents' house, I would see somebody in the living room, somebody different in the living room playing chess against my father. So a lot of people was coming to try him out. So so I thought it was pretty flattering that that a lot of dudes was gunning for my father in chess, because my father was pretty damn good in chess. He taught me how to play chess, but we definitely had different styles because my father is aggressive and he's willing to sacrifice anything to cripple you. He doesn't have a problem sending that queen in there first to tear up half your army before you finally get her out of there. Whereas me, I'm defensive minded, and the queen is the most valuable piece to me, and and she's like kind of like my last line of defense. Whereas my father sent the queen in there first. So yeah, with that being said, I might look for a chess game in VR, because I didn't really, I don't know, or maybe I'll go back and revisit that one on the PlayStation VR, because I was, like I popped my head in there and looked at it for a second, and all I really did was like just look around the room, saw the tables and the environment and shit like that, but I never really played anything. So maybe I'll go back and revisit that. Cold Yogurt, you said I paid $2 for a PC jigsaw puzzle game. And Robert McLeod, let's be real, the better consoles get the money they will cost, but people try to ignore that fact. I had said it before that I was willing to pay as much as $600 for the PS5, and then as far as the PSVR 2 headset goes, I was prepared to probably pay as much as $500 for it. You said you paid $3 for the Division 2 on PS4. Yeah, but I hear it's trash. I think I could be wrong. But I think this seasonal shit that Ubisoft is trying with all their games does not fly with everybody. Excuse me. You got, Rainbow Six and For Honor. I haven't really done the deep research on it, but you got For Honor, Rainbow Six, The Division, Ghost Recon. I think all these games, Ubisoft try to make these into service games with season passes, shitload of microtransactions, in-game currency, all that kind of bullshit. And I think out of all those games that I've mentioned, I think only Rainbow Six still seems to have a huge user base. I mean, Ubisoft was gonna try that with Space Junkies. I think they were gonna try to make Space Junkies into a service-based game and try to sell season passes on that game, but that shit is not gonna fly in VR yet because VR is not big enough yet for people to come in trying that season pass shit. Because even Firewall tried it for a second, but I don't know if they still doing that shit with the season passes. But Ubisoft, I mean, they had already fucked up with that game. Making a game cost $40. So you buy the game, if you buy the game at $40, I was hearing about all these complaints about the game being, empty, that there wasn't anybody to play with. So Ubisoft knocked the price down to $15. Yeah, a few people bought the game, but to me it didn't catch on the way it could have because of that $40 launch price. Ubisoft was just simply too fucking greedy with a game that's not ready for that shit yet. I think as of right now, as far as VR games that's scheduled to come out this year, I think Half-Life Alyx is the only game that I know about that costs over $50, and I do not have a problem with it because it looked like it's going to be worth the $50. Space Junkies did not look like it was worth $40, even though the game was fun. It just did not look like it was worth $40. But I will say, on a quick note before I end that I think Ubisoft can give the game a second life by bringing that game to the Quest. Robert McLeod, The Sims 4 is free, but I own it on every platform. I was never really into the Sims games. And Carl, is Red Matter any good? I do not know. With a lot of these VR games, here's what you get with some of these VR games. You get, because there's a lot of, indie studios developing these VR games, you might get a VR game that costs $40, and you get hold of the game and be like, fuck no, this bullshit wasn't worth $40. You'll get hold of a game that costs $40 and be like, okay, it could have been a little bit cheaper, or, but it was still okay. Carl, you say, okay, cheers. And then you have games that cost $40 that was well worth the money. I think Pavlov is one of the games on PC VR that's worth its weight in gold. When I first bought the game, it cost $10. The game is $25 now. I don't know if that's because of whether the game is out of early access or not, or because of how much content has been added because of modders that maybe maybe the developer jacked the price up a little bit. I don't know. But even at $25, Pavlov is still worth it. So bottom line is, on the prices of these VR games, sometimes you'll see some bullshit, sometimes you'll see some hidden gems. So with that being said, Red Matter. I will say this about Red Matter. On the Quest, Red Matter was the game that made me say, whoa, because you guys heard me say, on the Oculus Quest, when I first got it, I was at, PokerStars VR was the first game that I tried on the Oculus Quest, and the graphics was watered down. So I was like, man, if this is what I expect, if this is what we're going to see on the Oculus Quest, I don't know about this shit. I don't know about these watered down graphics. But Red Matter was the first game on the Quest that had, like, they showed you, like, the reflective surfaces, the textures and all that kind of shit. And I was like, damn, I was like, if they continue to make games look like this on that Red Matter, that's gonna be something else. So, other than that, I really don't know what to tell you because I've never played Red Matter, never really done too much research on the game. So, I don't know. I think the best I can tell you is to check out videos of the game. I'm sure people have, put up gameplay videos on YouTube. Or you could like maybe go to like maybe the Steam and check out the forums, see what people think of the game. Check out the reviews and stuff and see what people think of the game. But I wouldn't even put a ton of stock into people's reviews of the game. I think your best bet is to watch videos of the game and watch gameplay videos of Red Matter and make your own judgment. So we're working our way towards 10 o'clock. Ooh, good Lord. So, I think I'll be ready to shut it down here in a few minutes. Guess I'll take a quick look at N4G and see if there's anything else. It's like, damn, I've been on an hour and a half. N4G, what do we got? Shadow of the Colossus for PlayStation Plus. Hey, now I will take, I'm not going to play it, but I do want to take a look at it because I think for 2018, I think Shadow of the Colossus was probably the game that was, that kicked off 2018 for Sony because the remake of it, the amazing looking graphics and stuff like that. It was a game that I was curious about, but I didn't want to buy it, because it was like, because I think in 2018, Sony released a lot of games. I think they released so many games in 2018 that I think they were too close to each other and didn't give these games room to breathe because they were too close to each other. Because I missed out on some games in 2018 because of how many of them they released. He said, video games help me decide my purchase. Videos of games help me decide my purchase. Absolutely, Robert McLeod. You said, N4G lies worse than Microsoft. And you're saying it was a PS2 remake. Yeah, I knew it was a PS2 remake, but I was still, like, at the time that, I think at the time the Shadow of the Colossus came out, I was well on my way as far as VR goes, but I think at that time I was still liking flat screen games just as much as I liked VR games. And some of these, honestly speaking, some of these exclusives on the PlayStation, because I have a PlayStation Pro, some of these games look phenomenal. Even the older ones. Horizon Zero Dawn still looks amazing. For a moment I felt like Detroit Become Human was the best looking game I had ever seen on console or PC. People talk about how good Death Stranding looks. God of War, Spider-Man, amazing looking games. Excuse me. So when Shadow of the Colossus came out, that was another game that I wanted to check out because of how good it looked. But I didn't want to pay for it because, again, there was just too many games in the pipeline that was coming down the line after that. Carl, you said that's the trouble with PlayStation Plus. I got most of the games they give away. Yeah. Well, I don't have a problem with that because, you know, some of these, like, the games that they gave away is like, okay, it's like the game is, I don't want to use the word dead, but it's not really generating any sales. And I think them giving away MLB The Show for a PlayStation Plus game was an ingenious move. The game was out of season. Nobody's going to buy it that late into the year. You give a game to people for free and let them try it out and see what an amazing game it is, and you set them up to buy next year's game. He said, just wait until they make VR ports. Yeah, like that's another thing. You know, I've been so busy talking about looking forward to seeing GT Sport on PlayStation 5 with full VR support that I have really gotten away from talking about being hopeful that when the PS5 comes out that we'll see a fully playable version of MLB The Show, you know, in VR, because I would love nothing better than that. I think that can be done, you know, but I think with the PS5, hopefully with the power of the PS5, not only would we not only would we be able to get GT Sport and MLB The Show and whatever else Sony intends to put out there. Not only do I hope we get these games in full VR support, but I think with the new PSVR headset when that comes out, along with the power of the PS5, these games are going to look amazing. You know, because honestly speaking, you know, some of these games are hit and miss on the current PlayStation VR format because some of them are blurry, and I think that is going to be eliminated when the PS5 comes out. So yes, MLB The Show is definitely a game I would love to see fully playable in VR. So I'm gonna get on out of here. Holy shit, because I'm working my way towards 2 hours. Been on here an hour and 42 minutes, and from here the yawns are only going to get worse. So I might as well boogie on out of here. But I'm amazed you guys hung around for almost 2 hours. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Listening to me ramble on and get a little scratchy here. So what do we got? Today is Wednesday. I don't know as far as any stream goes. Someone should make a Bruce Lee fighter in VR. I did somebody posted a video on Facebook. It was called I think it was called Kung Fu Fighter in VR, and the cover art for the game basically showed the back view of what you would think would be Bruce Lee in the yellow jumpsuit holding nunchucks. And all this game really is a wave shooter. You holding a pair of nunchucks, and all these guys are like in this kung fu pose, running at you, and you just whacking them with the nunchucks, knocking them out of the way, you know. And so that's all that was. But that's just more or less answering your question. Yeah, that it was some sort of kung fu game out there that was modeled after Bruce Lee, even though his name was never mentioned. You know, his likeness was used in the game. But yeah, I don't really care for wave shooters in VR. I really don't. I mean, in the beginning, it was cool. Say just keep it up, Lincoln. All right, I appreciate it. But yeah, we're after 2 o'clock, and I need to. I'm hungry, so throw some. Go get some victuals. Throw some groceries down my neck, and see about maybe getting a little more. Project Cars 2 in. I don't know. I just was not feeling. Maybe I'll take a look at Race Room. So yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and grab a bite to eat. Actually stand toe to toe against Bruce Lee. If they made a game like that in VR, I think it would have to work on the same mechanics as Path of the Warrior. This that VR game on Oculus that's kind of reminiscent of Double Dragon. You physically punch with your hands, but as far as the kick goes, you press a button to kick. I think that would be the only way you could do a game like that in VR, because there's a lot of people that's out of shape that you put full body tracking on them. There's no way some of these people would get hurt trying to do Bruce Lee kicks in VR and shit like that. So that's it, y'all. I ain't bullshitting no more. I'm gonna get on out of here. Thanks to everybody for popping in, and like I said, I'm gonna grab a bite to eat, going over here, jump on this PC and mess around with some of these sim racers. Maybe I'll do a stream, maybe not. We'll see. Because I did like that stream I did a couple of days ago when I streamed Project Cars 2 for the PC. I actually had a lot of fun with that. So maybe I'll try one of these other games and stream it. Who knows? But if not, I guess I'll see you guys in a couple of days. And with that being said, I'm a boogie on out of here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. And said True, have a good one. Yep, we'll see you, Carl. Cold Yogurt, everybody else that popped in here, really appreciate it. JD Max was good. Sim Racers, well, at the conclusion of this podcast, I'm going to grab a bite to eat, and I'm going to go through my Sim Racer library. I finally got my wheel calibrated to a set of Corsa Competizione Dirt Rally, and my computer just got done downloading Race Room, so I'm going to go check that out. Appreciate it, Hussein X. So I'm going to go check those games out, and might possibly stream those games. He said, well, at least you got to say hi. Yeah, I've been on for a couple of hours, man, so sorry you got here late. But I did let everybody know, JD Max, everybody in here, to go check out your channel, because you're the only person that I know of who does VR stream on iRacing. There are iRacing streams out there, but you're the only one that I know about who does VR streams with that game. So check out JD Max, so he's pretty good at the game. So appreciate it, Carl. Saying hit the like button. Really appreciate it. So that's it. Let me grab a bite to eat. Like I said, we'll see how this goes. If I'm not too tired, if I get done eating at a decent hour, maybe I'll do a little quick stream on one of these sim racers. If not, I'll see you guys in a day or two. That's it. I'm going to boogie on out of here. Wakanda forever. Deuces. I'll holler at y'all later.